This week's podcast is something that's very close to my heart. Back in 2003, I did our first ever research. The findings were published in the 2003 Australian Conference of Science and Medicine and Sport, and it was on a product called Myocytin. Tatiana is our sports nutritionist, and she's here to talk about Myocytin research.
Yes, very excited about it.
Let's rip in.
Welcome to the Body Science Podcast, bringing you everything you need, want, and should know about health, fitness, nutrition, and training. As always, the information contained in this podcast is for the information purposes only and is not designed to diagnose or be prescriptive to treat, prevent, or manage any injury, disease, or other health-related condition.
This podcast was brought to you by the newest product to enter the Body Science Performance range, Myocytin. Independent research proved Body Science Myocytin to outperform standard creatine. In only 6 days, athletes ingesting Myocytin gained more than twice as much body mass as those consuming regular creatine. Athletes also increased upper arm girth by over 200% more than regular creatine users and improved their bench press performance significantly more than users of regular creatine. Ask your local supplement retailer how to get yours.
Welcome to Body Science HQ, the world of fit, happy, healthy, and getting massive. Yep, Myocytin is back from 2003. It went through a period, it probably was with the company, Tatiana, for 12 years, 10 to 12 years, and then pre-workouts hit the market. You know, There was all about the caffeine. It was all about, No Explode, I think was the first one to hit the market here, and it was just massive. Like the pre-workout market is where it's at right now. People got a little bit carb phobic during that time. Yeah. So we took it off the market back in 2010 or 11, I think it was, or 12. Can't remember exactly. But what happens is it's our 21st birthday. So we did a lot of reminiscing about, where we are, who we are as a brand. And one thing that came out when we were talking is customer service get asked still to this day, do you have Myocytin?
Yeah.
That's 21 years ago.
Yeah.
So Nathan, my business partner, and most people listening here will know who Nathan is. He just said, let's bring it back.
Yeah.
And the good thing was I was a little bit, oh shit, we're making low carb bars, mate. And you want to bring Myocytin out? And we sat down and had a chat because I love the Myocytin research. It was the first thing that I ever did a university study with. And the results were through the roof, and we'll go through that in a minute. But the big thing was you told me that pretty well much you've been running a Myocytin, and you've got a clinic where you talk with a lot of athletes, and you are an elite athlete yourself. Yeah. And you basically create Myocytin over and over every day using a whole lot of ingredients to make it, and you're really happy that it's back.
Yeah. I've been talking to you about it for a while, so I get my patients to just have some electrolytes with some sugar and creatine after they work out. Yep. Myocytin does have a few other ingredients that are very important there, and the way they put together just works well, and that's been proven. But when you told me, I thought you were joking because it's exactly what I take every day, and I give my patients every day as well.
So back in 2003, Rogerson and co-workers did a little study on Myocytin, and they said that Myocytin allows an athlete to perform more muscular work in as little as 6 days. Yep. So this isn't us just saying this. This is published research, and this is the results of it. So what that means, and I'm going to get you to talk technically soon, but I just want to dumb it down to my level for people who just want to go, do I walk into one of our retailers and buy this today or not? Yeah. So in a real world context, this means that an athlete, such as a bodybuilder, can perform more reps and sets during training just by taking Myocytin. Yeah. Obviously, if a high training intensity and volume can be maintained over weeks and months or years, the gains in muscle mass associated with that training are greatly accelerated. Yeah. So one of the big things that came from this, and you might be going, who cares, Greg? Like I hear that a lot in here. The big thing was there were no non-responders. Yeah. So...
And very important as well is that study compared Myocytin to creatine. It wasn't Myocytin to water or placebo, nothing.
Or sugar or something that just looks and has similar taste.
It was to creatine, which we know creatine has all the research show a lot of good results. So for Myocytin to be proven superior to creatine is pretty amazing.
And when you say creatine's got some good results, there's some problems with creatine, like 20% of people don't respond to it.
Yeah, so non-responders are well known to the researchers. It causes a bit of problems because we have to remove them sometimes from the result. And
the reason for that is a non-responder in the Myocytin study, for example, didn't gain any body mass or receive any performance enhancement, even though they ingested 120 grams of creatine over 6 days.
Yeah, basically it's all going to your urine and you're not actually taking that into your muscles. So that's the non-responders.
So is that an expensive piss or a lucky dip when you go to buy one of those?
Very expensive piss, yeah. Very expensive, and it's frustrating for a lot of people to go through supplements when they don't work work because you're spending money. You see that it should work, but it's not working. And creatine, there's ways of where we can increase that uptake by the muscle.
You love creatine, so we're not bagging creatine at it because you just love creatine. And you're a triathlete too.
Yeah, I know.
Which is really interesting for a triathlete to love creatine.
And I think that's what I'm trying to get across as well, is that we're talking about getting big, and that's what creatine helps to do, but we also can have a lot of other uses to it, especially with performance enhancing and power and strength and speed. So
one of the big things that came on the myocytin versus the creatine group was an increase in bench press performance, like the number of reps that people could actually perform. In 6 days, we had what's the number? Like it was
3 more than the creatine group. So they tested the bench press the first day, and then they started supplementation, and on the 7th day they did the test again. The myocytin group did 3 more reps, so that was 80% of body weight on bench press. The myocytin group did 3 extra reps, 3 to 4, I believe, and the creatine group, some didn't increase. It was 0.6 to less than 1, so that they didn't have an increase in bench press.
Taking Myocytin, doing the load on myocytin.com, you will increase your bench press.
That is massive. If you think of 80% of your body weight on a bench press, to do 3 extra reps is massive in only 6 days.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? But one of the other good things in here that I think a lot of guys are going to love is, and I know you're shaking your head, but let's throw it out there. The Myocytin group increased their upper arm girth by 200% more than the creatine group.
Yeah, so that's the same. So
get me a new size shirt.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing, and we know that's to do with the water retention in the muscles, and that's actually gonna create even more gain. That's because we only tested 6 days later. That quick increase has a lot to do with water and how healthy your muscle is getting, and that will actually increase your gains after some time.
So one of the really interesting things that Shane told me, and he's the head researcher on this project, he said to me, because he knew at the time we were very much in sport, and he said, Greg, this is an amazing product for contact sport. He said, what happened was the average gain was 5 kilos in 6 days in the Myocytin group. Now we'll say 4+ just to keep it out there and keep it real. But what he also told me is over on that 7th day when they did all the testing, nobody lost speed. So in 6 days, you put on 5 kilos and you've lost no speed.
That's pretty amazing, because we see a lot of athletes, and that goes for rugby, AFL. We see a lot of athletes being really careful with weight gain because they still need to be fast, so they don't want to slow down too much, but they want to power and they want to be bigger. They need to be bigger with contact sport. But if you can get big and not lose that speed, it's pretty amazing. You're supporting your muscles as well, so that weight gain won't come with injuries or anything like that either. So it's pretty impressive.
Nice. So Tatiana, I just want to jump on something. You talked about water retention with the Myocytin group.
Now,
I don't like that word.
That's because
in science, it's called cell volumization, isn't it?
And so I can read it, but I can't say it. So sorry, I said water retention. It's a lot fancier how you say it, but it's actually really good. So basically you have more water in your muscle cells, and that's really important because in a way your muscle is getting healthier. Your muscle has the support to increase protein synthesis, so that will actually send signals to your body to increase muscle mass.
And they're anabolic?
So that's the anabolic. So your body will basically build more muscle out of that. So it just signals your body that everything's healthy there. We're ready to go. We have enough energy. We have enough water. We have enough fuel to build more muscle.
So Tatiana, one of the other things that was noted in the research that there was an increase in protein synthesis. Is that correct?
Yeah. So that's basically getting the aminos that we consume and that we use and making into protein. So aminos together will make proteins, and that's what we need to build muscle.
So taking Myocytin's got its own benefits, which we've just discussed in the research, but it's also going to make your protein better value.
Yeah, exactly. And it will be uptake by the muscle, those amino acids. The creatine and the taurine were found to increase protein synthesis, and they also decrease protein turnover. So they also decrease the amount of protein you lose when you're exercising, and increases the protein synthesis. So that's why the mass gain is so impressive.
And that retention of creatine that we're talking about in the study, like the 100% of people responded. Has that got a lot to do with the way high glycemic carbohydrates work?
Yeah. So we got dextrose and myocytin, chemically identical to glucose. What we found and that's research, that's probably the research you guys did before you came up with myocytin. The research has been showing for years and years, over 20 years, that creatine is a lot better taken by the muscle with the glucose. Yeah. So, and the glucose is also taken to the muscle with creatine. That transport works so well that we have studies of diabetics type 2 being supplemented creatine to reduce glucose in the blood because it goes to the muscle, which is incredible because if you think of it, glucose with the go to the muscles, it will go to fat cells.
Yep.
So if we can increase that in the muscles, we're performing better, we're gaining weight, and in muscle, we're getting stronger, and we're reducing that fat storage.
And from what you're saying is we're not increasing body fat.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people out there will go, wow, that formula's got 30 plus grams of carbohydrate.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm too scared to take that. That's just not right, is it?
No, that's not right. Especially if you're exercising regularly, your muscles will ask for it. So it's more likely that the glucose will go to your muscles. And a lot of people don't understand that, but our muscles actually run on glucose. It's actually called glycogen. There's a lot of glucose together, and creatine will increase that uptake, which is really important. Taurine does the same. Glycine will increase insulin response, and that will help all that transport system. I know we talk about transport system and it sounds a bit markety, but it's exactly how it works.
So Tatiana, one of the things that for a young guy out there looking to get value for money, and times are tough, COVID, all the things that are happening in life, nobody knows job-wise. Australia's, we've been lucky.
Yeah.
And so we still can get out, we still get to the gyms and train.
Yeah.
Is it really important for people to understand the Myocytin group, that every single athlete increase their bench press performance, upper arm girth and body mass?
Yeah, so that means that every single athlete in the Myocytin group was a responder. So when we talk about creatine, there are certain people that don't respond. That means creatine in the muscle doesn't increase, the concentration doesn't increase. And when it doesn't increase in the muscle, you don't get those results. The Myocytin group had 100% responders. So that means that if you're taking Myocytin compared to pure creatine, you're more likely, we're saying 100% here because that's the research we have, you're a lot more likely to get your results because we know the creatine is actually going to where it has to go.
And the exciting thing there, it's not a lucky dip. Like there was still 80% of people that responded in the creatine group, but we just smashed the responders out of the park. So when you take a creatine, you don't know if you're part of that 20%.
Yeah.
And then of the 80% that aren't part of that 20% that don't respond, we still had amazing results versus them in taking Myocytin.
Yeah. So even though 80% responded in the creatine, our results in the Myocytin group was a lot superior. So it tells you something. We didn't compare it to placebo. We compared it to creatine, and we still had massive results.
So for those people out there that are traditionally just haters, and everyone hates something at some time, but you get those people that send you these emails and these big long wordy concepts. What are you going to tell people when they come through to our office and go, Myocytin, you're full of shit?
I have a lot of research to back me up, and I love doing that. We have the research, and that's the big thing. I could do my research on all the ingredients and explain how it works, but the thing is, you got the actual product and you got to test it, and it wasn't you. You went into a research group with an university. They had to be peer reviewed, which is really important, because when you peer review an article, if you feel like the results are being manipulated, it doesn't get published.
Yeah.
So ours got published, so we know it wasn't manipulated. We know all the stats were done properly, because that's really important too. We know our comparison group was done properly. To be honest, I'm impressed that you had the courage to go against creatine rather than go against placebo, because you really trusted your product.
Well, when I sat with Shane Rogerson, and that's Dr. Shane Rogerson, who did the research, he just goes to me, Greg, I want to do something different. I want to go against creatine. I said, oh, really? I'm all for it, mate, but if we went against sugar, wouldn't the stats look way better?
Yeah.
And he said, mate, do you think your product works? I said, yeah, it does. Like, everyone who uses it tells me that they love it. It's a great product. It's simple.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't changed with the new formula. We haven't gone to all the new types of creatines. We haven't gone to all the new types of carbohydrates.
Yeah.
We've kept it pretty well much that we know that. When I say it's simple, it doesn't mean it's not effective. It's just simple.
Yeah, yeah.
And like you said, you've had all clients in your clinic, and the more people I tell that Myocytin's coming back, the more I hear, oh, thank goodness, because I've been buying this aid to add to this, to do this, to do this. And it's been a lot of work, Greg. And it's really good that, you guys are bringing this back.
Yeah.
And we haven't changed the formula.
Yeah.
We've kept it really simple like the original study. It worked. It's published. And the findings were presented at the Australian Conference of Science and Medicine and Sport. The paper was peer-reviewed and published, like you said, and we're really proud of that.
Yeah. It's really important because we know it wasn't just you paying a researcher to manipulate any of the results. So it's there. And it's really important as well. There's a lot of, it's for researchers really scary to go with products like that because if you manipulate it, it looks really bad for you and people know the names that are not good. He did a really good job and the results are really good. I look at the stats because I love the stats. Really well done.
Now, Shane Rogerson and the university down there at Southern Cross, they were leading the way in sports science back in that time.
Yeah, well, when the Gold Coast, when Australia, our sports field here is really strong. So when we're talking about sport nutrition, we're on the top of the world in terms of sports. Like we have some of the best athletes swimming. We have surf life saving here. We have a footy, all types of footies. I've never seen so many footies in my life. So the research coming out, it's good because we need to be good at it because we have a lot of athletes that bring that demand to us.
Well, there's not many products in a range you can say work from someone who's at the gym bodybuilding right through to someone who's playing elite rugby league.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's the benefits are all around. And so if people want to get on board, Myocytin.com has the loading protocol used by the university. After that loading protocol, it's pretty well much one serve a day post-training for a couple of months, go off it for a while and then repeat.
Yeah.
Why in a loading protocol, like post a loading protocol, do we stop creatine cycling after a couple of months?
Just because you can't take too much because your body will be saturated. So it's good to stop. Mm-hmm. Your body will keep because our body does produce creatine from diet, but it's good to stop. So your body, it's funny because the vegans and the vegetarians, and that's important to touch on. Like our Myocytin is vegan friendly. It's they respond a lot better. So if you're taking too much, it will saturate and your body will sort of stop producing it the way it should. In saying that,
we don't want to do that.
That's the loading protocol. Yeah. If you're taking it consistently and you're taking 3 grams a day, you wouldn't need to stop. You're just really just supplementing what you're using for your exercise.
Nice. One of the exciting things before we finish up on the Myocytin podcast is when you're putting the table of evidence together around latest research in creatine and all the associated ingredients, one of the things you said to me is, Greg, this is a really good nootropic.
Yeah.
Because that's one of my hacks is I love nootropics.
Yeah.
So why is using Myocytin or creatine a good nootropic?
So creatine, for the same reason we use creatine for the muscles, the brain is the same. Our brain has only it's 2% of our body weight, but it uses 25% of our energy during the day. So it's the same thing. Creatine will provide that recycled energy to the brain cells. It also has been shown that creatine supplementation will increase the energy available for brain cells. So it's been shown to increase speed in thinking, memory, and just general mental performance. So, and taurine is a natural stimulant as well for the brain. So it's a good nootropic.
You often see that in energy drinks.
Yeah. And the sugar in a way is not because you have all those other ingredients with it. You're not going to have that crazy peak of insulin and sugar in your blood system. Mm-hmm. A lot of it will be taken by the muscle as well. And with the creatine, that's just going to give you more mental focus. And it's for training is going to be, it's amazing. So I can't wait for it.
Hey, some of the, getting back to the Myocytin research, I mean, we went off track there a little bit, the nootropics, but I just love my nootropics. I mean, anything I can mention that word with, I'm all over.
Yeah.
So just in closing, Myocytin is university proven.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been proven superior to creatine. It's basically got a rapid delivery system that Rogerson researched in 2003, and in 6 days there were some pretty big calls that we can make.
Yeah.
So athletes increased bench press performance, and we've got a good graph on that, which people will see floating around social media and websites and stuff soon. But it's actually, although the creatine group to the Myocytin group is, you're talking 1 and 4 reps, it's 7 times bench press performance when you do that from a scientific performance. Like that's huge.
Yeah.
That is massive. Athletes gained up to 2 times more mass than standard creatine that 6 days. So upper arm girth was the measure there. So you're not going to have a 200% bigger bicep,
no,
Tatiana, but you're going to be 200% bigger than a creatine group or just using straight creatine.
That's what happened,
One of the big things associated with it, it's not classified as putting on weight. It's classified as muscle mass.
Yeah.
And that's that cell volumization effect that you talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And one of the other good things is every athlete had 100% success. So everybody increased bench press performance. Everybody increased upper arm girth. Everybody increased body mass. We're pretty much talking some pretty cool anabolic effects, and it is drug tested. So it's okay for any athlete to use.
Yeah.
So that's a HASTA batch test for all the dietitians out there that are listening. That means we test every batch before it arrives to us, and we cannot sell a product with a HASTA logo on it that does not meet those 200 plus WADA ingredients they're testing for.
Yeah. And I'm part of that process, so I know it's a long process, but I'm excited about it because we can just sell it to every athlete and we don't need to wait for the batches that are tested. We're testing all of them. For us, it's a lot harder, but I think it's a really great product, and we have the opportunity to make it available for every elite athlete that is getting tested as well.
And the really cool thing here for everyone, it's Australian made and owned, and the research was done in Australia in 2003. And Tatiana, off the top of your head, I'm just going to throw you under the bus here. Can you tell me where the research was done?
Where?
The really cool thing, the findings were presented at the Australian Conference of Science and Medicine and Sport. The paper was peer reviewed and published back in 2003. That's a big deal, isn't it?
That is, because if you think as a researcher, they wouldn't present something that if they were manipulating the results.
And that's a great conference too. That's a good conference.
That's a big conference, yeah. The other thing as well is that to be published and peer reviewed can't be manipulated.
It's real science.
Yeah.
So when we say 100% of people responded, 100% of people responded.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. Australian made, Australian owned, and Australian researched and tested by an Australian authority, HASTA, for banned substances. Pretty Aussie if you ask me.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Available at all good retailers. Jump on our website and click on find a retailer, or if you walk into your retailer and they don't have it, give us a call and we'll make sure they get it for you. So Tatiana, thanks for coming on board. I know that you've started your position as full-time body science as our sports nutritionist. We love having you on board.
Thank you.
It's not very often you find a female triathlete who loves creatine.
Yeah.
For all those guys out there that want to know, drop us a message on Facebook or DM us on Insta, or jump on the website and click on the contact us and we'll answer all your questions.
Yeah.
So myocytin.com is the hosting of the website. The product will go to the States. We sponsor a lot of teams over in that area.
Yeah.
We're really excited about this product. Well, thanks for coming on board.
Thank you.
And train hard.